And it,
Welcome, everybody. I am truly privileged to be here with the phenomenal Desmond Latham. He has been around the block, as you can see from the profile below. I think he puts to shame most of us entrepreneurs. You started after quite a career of from government to business state to journalist, editor, and so forth. What made you get the courage to start your business, to start your entrepreneurial journey?
I was a war reporter at 702 Township War Reporter. I speak two local languages as well as English and Afrikaans, isiZulu and isiXhosa. And so I spent a lot of time there, and I was given a bursary by Reuters to study at Stanford in 1993 and 4. And I did a famous course there called, sorry, my cat, called Mechanical Engineering, called ME 101, which is what the Mythbusters team, the famous Mythbusters team from television, also did that course. It's one of the most famous innovation-linked courses at Stanford and in Silicon Valley. So without knowing it, I actually attended that course for a year, and it completely blew my mind. The things I learned in mechanical engineering for that year was just phenomenal, mainly visual thinking. So from taking visual thinking and using visual methodologies to draw up plans, I'm used for some years. I worked after that as a journalist, and I started a journalism school at LMB campus and so on. But in the back of my mind was always that I wanted to become an entrepreneur. In fact, my great aunt said to me one day, she said, "You haven't started your own company yet?" Because my family has a history of it. So I looked at the business models at the time and realized that everyone was billing initially through airtime and cell phones, but no one was billing for content. This was 1999 eventually. And so in 1999, I was very fortunate to be part of a team that delivered a presentation to MTN of South Africa that showing how cell phones could actually bill for content. It was a world first. The code that went to make it up only existed on WAP systems in Japan. There was no other system in the world that could do it. And we were doubly fortunate in that the two youngsters who I worked with had figured out how to use Nokia's source code. And of course, then Nokia had 80% of the world market on mobiles. So what we did is we used the Nokia source code to reformat sounds and build what's called ringtones in 99. And we launched in 99 with MTN allowing us to use their database of users.
I just want to stop there for a second, Desmond. You know, that statement, you know, you summarize it beautifully, but a lot of people say, yes, it's all good. You were part of a team, you found two phenomenal individuals, you pitched to NTM, the doors open. You know how stressful that journey of pitching to a large corporate is, of developing the team, of finding the right founders. What kind of butterflies were you experiencing back then?
Well, we were kind of heady kids, blue sky, so we knew it was going to work. So our attitude was, if MTN didn't take it, someone else is going to take this. It was not there. It was, we weren't going there begging bowl in hand. We were, as far as we were concerned, we were approaching kind of fuddy-duddy old business people who were locked into some kind of old-fashioned marketing process. So our attitude was, if you don't take it, we're going to give it to Vodacom. And if Vodacom doesn't take it, we're going to go to AT&T because this is huge. And because at that stage, no one could customize things on phones, right? It was just the phone cover that people were buying, that were camouflage or blue or reds and so on. But you couldn't actually customize and make your own phone unique. So we figured out how to convert the ringtones, which were then single tone. I'm a musician, so my role was to work with the teams to create these single tone nodes. So we'll take Bob Marley's tunes and so on and convert them to tone. We put them on an easy-to-use IVR, integrated interactive voice response system, IVR system. People would dial a number, they push 1 to 9, because of course you can't use 10, for different kind of genres of music. They would listen to 9 pieces, because that's all we could do. They would decide which one they wanted. They'd hit the associated number linked to it, and they'd get the ringtone downloaded on their phone, and for that they'd pay a few rands or R1.50. You know, so when we presented to MTN, they said, this is a crazy idea. Africans won't know how to use this. That was their response. And we kind of looked at them, and you know, it's the hidden message there is, of course. So we said to ourselves, you know, everyone's going to want this, and people learn what they want. They teach each other. Ask, you know, Snapchat, how to use Snapchat. Well, it's really difficult to learn, but someone's going to show you. So, and this is the old days. This is long before the modern world of mobiles and smartphones. So we knew they were going to buy it. We did our market research with students. They all loved it. And we launched, of course. Your question is really important, because what we did is MTN said to us, we're not going to pay a cent for the system. You're going to take risk. So we sat and discussed it as the three main parties. Luckily for us, one of the marketing managers at MTN really was sold on the idea, and he pushed inside for us. So they made the door swing open a little easier. But he took a giant leap himself. So we did have to have a network inside the system, if you like. But as I said to you, we were so arrogant. We were going to make money out of this no matter who's going to buy it from us. And it wasn't just South Africans. It was going to be big. So the long and the short of it is that we launched, we took risk. And within 6 months, we had 500,000 users. And 30% of those were coming back weekly. So needless to say, the risk part of it for me, MTN said, well, we're not going to pay you, but we'll give you 20% of each ringtone download value, which is a huge in modern terms, as a small no-name company. So the real problem for me, though, emerged with the amount of money I made and and how quickly it happened. Within a year, the three-figure monthly income was accruing rapidly. Where I was growing into a big business as a small company. The reality was I was doing around 8 hours of work per month for a lot of money. So after 2 or 3 years of this, MTN sent lawyers to send a message to me via lawyers saying, look, we didn't know how much money you were going to make out of this, and you didn't tell us. So we want to renegotiate you to a retainer. So it's a typical case of the big company making a huge wallop of money. They made millions and millions out of this thing. Everyone copied it straight away into the early 2000s. We were the first place in the world to bill on cell phones. I don't think people are aware of that. South Africa is the first place in the world to bill content on cell phones, which now is passé. And of course, everyone buys from everyone else and thinks South Africans can't bill anything, which really hacks me off when I think about it. So I kind of got burnt in a way, York, because I had to renegotiate because my lawyer said to me, you've got a 5-year contract, but they're going to screw you. They're going to come with their 12 high-cost mercantile lawyers, and you're going to come with me and someone else, and they're just going to keep extending this thing out in court cases, and you're going to run out of money. They're going to take it all away from you. So I had to make a decision. So I went to retainer, but I was really angry, obviously, by the process. And you asked a good question. What did I learn? I learned to think smart because I was not thinking smart at the time. I was a typical 30s to early, moving to the 40s. I'm 57 now. I was kind of arrogant, hardcore, pretty much the early days of internet type of person. Blue skying. I launched far too many projects at the same time. So those two things I learned. One, learn to swallow your pride. Two, focus. Because once the money flowed in, I was building FTP and HTML-based systems for the Development Bank of South Africa. I built around the world yacht race, weather update patent system. I worked with RFID scanners and with the Boston Harbor. Someone working in Boston Harbor was moving cars, and we were scanning cars. And I just ran out of money eventually because I was not earning as much as I was putting into these blue sky ideas. I was so excited by the idea of launching many, many things that I lost touch with the business. So I guess those are the two main things I learned. One, focus, and two is think smart, swallow your pride.
And something, you know, everyone I speak to, every single entrepreneur I've ever chatted to has setbacks behind them, has screw-ups and much more worse words that I would love to use here. And yet all of them, including you, it sounds like that was the catalyst for you to grow as a person, as a business person, as an entrepreneur. Like, what advice would you give people regarding setbacks, which are inevitable almost?
Well, I think the first thing is you must have a medium to long-term goal, and I didn't really. So I think that's the first big thing that we learn in businesses like this. My goal was to kind of sell content on cell phones, which is not really a goal. It's too broad. So I think that's the first thing I learned in retrospect, to say, I want to now build the value in my company with CapEx and IP to an extent where people have to buy me. For example, my partner, there was MTN Mobile Active Digital and something called Leaf Data Industries. Leaf Data did the server code. Leaf Data was sold themselves to MTN for 250 million rand. Whereas I could not sell myself to MTN because my barrier to entry was high, because no one had done it before anywhere in the globe. And suddenly by 2005-06, everyone was wanting to do mobiles. And I didn't understand that my value was the focus on IP. In other words, I needed to copyright and protect some of the things that I was doing. And because what I was doing was really free to air, I was using an old-fashioned kind of open source methodology and trying to pin value into that. So I learned that you need to value those intrinsic skills and then patent them, which I didn't do. So on a personal basis, I am happy to say that I had over 30 staff, developers. And when I realized what was going to happen, was MTN was squeezing me a lot in, and they were my main clients. I had many other clients, but they unfortunately remained my largest clients. And that's the second mistake. The old story about having a single large client. Who knows that they're your large client? So I tried to diversify, but that became a threat. So I went to Celsea and Vodacom. I worked with Vodacom on a something called Talkanet, which was a voice-to-email system, a really exciting system with Russian and Israeli developers working with us across the world. So I realized I was far more excited about the fact that I was entrepreneuring than I was actually making money. You know, the idea itself was exciting me far more than the bank balance. So I think the focus on your IP and then being patient enough with that single idea. I'm obviously ADHD. I'm type A. I go when something is good. I'm very positive about systems that I launch, and I obsess about them, and I spend all my energies on them. But I think I needed a mentor of some sort, because my background was even though the family side was farming business, I was very much on my own, and I was kind of happy to be like a lone thinker on these things. In the early days, when you know something and no one else knows, it's a lot of kind of ego power, I guess, especially people who are in their 30s, 20s, and especially males. And I fell prey to that, I'm afraid. So focusing on the main IP, and then taking a long-term or medium-term, at least, prognosis and plan. I didn't have any of those things. And I did a year's MBA course at Henley School. I was funded by what is now TISA Blackstar, in the media business, to do a year of what's called strategic leadership. And so I had the tools. I learned the tools. I learned the finance tools and strategy tools and so on, but I still kind of put them on the side and went to go and play.
Well, fantastic. Desmond, thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm just going to pause for a second.